Hello, welcome to the 199 Unlisted podcast. My name is Frank. I'll be sitting here talking to you for a few minutes. As usual, wearing clothes. I'm wearing a hat over a hood because I'm cool, trying to start a trend. Anyway, one of you sent me a video to react to. Sorry, deporting illegal immigrants isn't racist. It's a video by you, why you. Sorry, deporting illegal immigrants isn't racist. This is the most lukewarm take, the most milk toast take ever. Uh, you know, I was saying this. Well, I was saying this back in the '90s. I've had podcasts about this where I've talked about what I was doing in the '90s. I was at a protest. I mean, I already told the story. I don't want to rehash, but there's a protest about illegal immigrants should stay. I'm paraphrasing. I grabbed a megaphone and said, "No, you guys got to get the hell out of here." But yeah, so like I said, from the '90s, I was doing this. But anyway, I think the main reason why I was sent this video is because the chick has a nose ring, and I'm assuming the person just wanted me to make fun of her. But I'm not gonna do that. We're just gonna listen to this take. I'm sure it's going to be very riveting, and I've noticed it's like a trend now where um, people are finally like now that it's come out in the news that most of these protesters are paid activists. They're or let's say like the protests in New Jersey at the ICE facility. All those people outside protesting, most of them were from out of state, and then they had funding from we don't know where, but they had fresh food coming in, they had tents, medical supplies, they had gas masks, they had all these. The infrastructure was spot on, like, and it was a constant flow of supplies. And it took long enough, but the governor finally told the police, yeah, you got to shut it down, because like they basically set up a mini city. There were like I don't know how many, but there were at least over 10 camps, like 10 big ass tents, and they had headquarters and telling people where to protest, what to do, what to say, handed out signs, handed out whatever supplies they need to cause chaos. So I think because more and more people realize that it's paid for, they feel more comfortable coming out and saying something. But they're just jumping on a trend, like it's the people who are saying stuff from the start of the people I listen to. But once again, I think that's why this was recommended, because they wanted me to make fun of it. But listen, I know when I'm being set up. People do this all the time to me. Like they'll say something, and they know I won't make a point. They know I'm just gonna make fun of the situation. But let's see what she has to say. Okay, nose ring aside.
When people talk about border control and immigration, specifically illegal immigration, and the deportation of those individuals, when someone shows the slightest support for any of those things, and those people are automatically called a racist for having those opinions.
No, they're only called racist by far left. Like we're talking like the extreme far left. It's a very loud, small group of people, and they're very emotional. They're violent. So, and I'm assuming she's talking about saying she supports border control. I'm assuming she's talking about online, because I can't picture her in real life, talking to people about border control. And I'm just basing this based on the way she looks. Like she looks like a feminist. She looks like the type. Well, see, if her hair was dyed, it'd be guaranteed. But she looks like the type that would want an open border just based on the way she looks. But maybe she has some common sense. But anyway, I just can't picture her in real life being a confrontational person. So I don't even think she would bring this topic up in real life.
Well, I think that's retarded. Not just stupid, but dumb. And here's why. Well, first we have to define what racist is. Well, I feel like people use the word racist so much now that it lost its meaning. Like if you
I've been called a racist for a long time. Now, granted, I haven't done any actions to prevent a person of whatever race from getting a job, or I've never, physically attacked someone because of their race. I've never, I can't think of anything that I would use the definition of racist for that I've done, but I have called out pattern recognition. So the last time I was called racist, there was an ICE protest in Culver City. Okay. The crowd was, I want to say, 95% white. It was a peaceful protest. They were standing on the sidewalk, holding up signs, and this is the part that makes no sense. They were on either side of the street, so like both sides were like ICE protesters, and they're all just standing on the side of the street, holding up signs, saying whatever, ICE sucks, whatever. And I made the comment, notice how it's peaceful. It's 95%, the crowd is mostly white. It's mostly white families. They're probably rich liberals who live in gated communities where, they're not affected by illegal immigration because they have a nice enough job. They have enough money where they don't even have to go out. Like they can DoorDash or have anything they order delivered to them. They live in this bubble so they can virtue signal. And then I said, look at the protest in downtown, and it's 95% black and Mexican, and it's a riot. I was called racist for that. It's just facts. Facts don't you know care about your fifis. But anyway,
you say something that's not even remotely racist, people call you racist nowadays. I'm like, that's not how it works. My working definition for the word racist in this video is the act of intentionally targeting people because of their race. Now we're clear on that definition. I'm going to explain to you.
that's the only definition of racism. The problem is people on the left changed the, even go back with Joe Biden where they changed the definition of what a recession is. We were in a recession. They changed the definition of recession, so now we're not in a recession. That's just something the left does because they're very emotional. They don't rely on facts. They rely on feelings.
Why illegal immigration, deportation is not racist. Illegal immigration describes a legal status, not race or ethnicity or identity. It's not about any of those. It's a legal status. So the enforcement applies based on whether people follow the immigration process or not.
I've known illegals from Mexico, from Canada, and from a few European countries. So I think what's happened is people, dumb people, think illegals are only Mexicans or just anything south of the border because like all those Central American countries, they all walk through Mexico. Like they each come from a worse country, so but each country they go, you can't stay here, so they keep going up to America because like Mexico has a wall um on the border of its southern border because like they don't want the Guatemalans coming in. See, because like Guatemala is so bad, they go to Mexico, but the Mexicans don't want them, but they let them walk through to USA. Oh, let me close my door. But like no one calls Mexicans racist against Guatemalans, right? But anyway, let's continue.
Just regardless of what you think of the law, the enforcement applies based on the immigration law. It's not targeting a specific ethnicity. A policy is racist if it targets people because of their race, solely of their race.
Yeah, see, and this is weird. I feel like she's talking to a first grader. And I think this is the difference between the emotional, far left, radical leftists. They're not using logic. They hear something on CNN, or whatever, just a famous person they look up to, or a politician, and they just repeat what they hear. Like, it's racist, so I'm going to say it's racist. My life is going great, but I need something to be mad at. I got to pick a struggle, so I'm like, okay, I'm going to fight this. Now, if the border control, if our immigration policy said we are only uh, looking for Mexican, just name every country in Central America. If we're only going after El Salvadorian uh illegal aliens, then I can see that being called racist, because like, why are you only going after that one? But as a nation, our immigration policy is based on the legal status of you. It doesn't matter where you come from. Now there's some countries we ban entrance from because, like, like, you don't want to I don't know, like, you don't want, like, terrorists from Iran to come over here. Like, some stuff makes sense. That's not racist. You just don't want terrorists over here. But you know, there's people who actually think that our border patrol is only going after brown people, but that's because we have politicians and other people in power who lie to the public, and they bite hook, line, and sinker. And then you have people who are just being paid to be agitators. So that's another thing. So it's like really, really stupid people and people who are being paid.
But immigration law targets people because of an action. It doesn't matter what race you are, it's the act of coming into a country illegally. But then people are like, oh my gosh, there's so much emphasis on the southern border. Like, why are you just deporting Mexican people? And
Yeah, Bridget. I'm recording right now. I just texted you about the stuff. Okay. Okay.
brown people, the selective focus on the southern border is obviously racist. It reveals something about the motive. Well, it just so happens that the USA shares a land border with Mexico. And many illegal immigrants.
This is crazy. It's like literally like talking to a retard. Most illegal immigrants in America are from Mexico and Canada. It's just how it is. Now the difference is there is a much extreme amount, like the numbers aren't even close. The amount of crime that the people from the southern, like the illegal aliens from the southern side, they commit so much crime, and they're on so much welfare, and so, like, just a burden on the taxpayers. That's why there's a bigger focus. And also, you have, millions of people trying to cross the southern border because it sucks down there. You don't have millions. I mean, it's not even close. Like, it's not even a thing. You don't have caravans of Canadians crossing the border. So obviously the problem is coming from the southern border. So you're going to be focused on the southern border because it sucks down there. So obviously, if Mexico was a better place to live, if El Salvador was a better place to live, if Guatemala was a better place to live, people wouldn't be leaving in droves, but it's because the government
Come
sucks
from the other
so
side of the
bad.
border. So yeah, no shit, there's an emphasis on the southern border. If the people were replaced with a different race, or if the country that shared the southern border with the USA is not Mexico, I bet illegal crossings will face the same consequence. Concentration.
No, if let's just pretend Norway was at our southern border. I bet you we would not have any illegal immigration. Okay. Because Norway is run in a way where the people like living there. Imagine if like Spain was, well, Spain has mass migration, so actually people would want to leave. Okay, but let's take a different country. Let's take Japan. Let's just pretend somehow Japan is at America's southern border. I bet you there would be zero illegal immigration because Japan's a nice place to live. South Korea, if South Korea was at our southern border, there would be zero illegal immigration. In fact, actually, Americans would be trying to sneak into Korea. So it's mainly because it's a shithole country. Okay, like I've heard people from Mexico say, yeah, it's one of the most corrupt governments anyway on the planet. But there's pockets of really nice places in Mexico, but you notice they're guarded by the military because like you need you need some places that are nice to bring in money, just for the population, like to have businesses flourish, like tourist spots in Mexico are very safe. Like they are guarded like crazy. But yeah, so her statement right there didn't make sense. It's like, you put a shithole country at the southern border, we're gonna need border control. Canada uh is a, America light. So, people like living there. Like people have first world way of living, like they have running water, they have electricity, like there's no food shortages in Canada.
On where the flow is coming from is not a racist thing. It's just like how police patrol high crime neighborhoods more heavily and how they patrol busy intersections more than empty ones. Because, I feel like that's just so common sense. I feel like everyone is aware of the fact that more speeding tickets are issued to men more than women because men tend to speed more than women. I'm pretty sure it's around 70% are issued to men. Well, does that make punishing these people sexist?
In the eyes of a leftist, yes. If you patrol an area that has a high crime rate, if you patrol that place more, you're racist. Because this isn't logical. This is based on feelings. But yeah, she's right. Everything she just said, she is correct.
Now, you have to understand that disparate outcomes don't automatically prove discriminatory intent. Someone can support deportation of illegal immigrants and support having a more secure border while criticizing how the enforcement is carried out.
Now that is a stupid fence sitter statement. How do you deport someone? You go get them. It's what are we doing? An illegal immigrant is a criminal. They broke the law. They are illegally in the country. So, what we're supposed to roll out the red carpet and beg the criminal to leave, or do we go get the criminal? When a mass majority of these people are a net negative on our country, the people who get hurt the most when it comes to illegal immigration are the taxpayers, are the American citizens. So she's an example of someone who is still putting illegal immigrants over American citizens. And that's the biggest problem in this country is you have a lot of Americans who I guess their life is too good where they're willing to put illegals over Americans. But it's usually the same type of person. It's usually a female. Usually, someone who is on the very liberal side of the spectrum. Usually people who don't have families or don't have kids anyway. Like I don't know, like your worldview should change when you have kids because it's like you want society to be safer, you want money to go to programs to help Americans. I don't know. You want your life to be easier because you want your kids' life to be easier. You just want society to be better, but it's just a weird way of thinking. Like I remember when we first started doing the mass deportation, there were some people who were like, "Well, all these people need a day in court." So you want to have uh 20 million people backlogged in our court system. And like what's that court case going to be? Well, this person, like I'm trying to picture like the public defendant in the it's like this person is charged with being an illegal immigrant. So what we're supposed so we're gonna have a public defender like defend this? Like it makes no sense. It's not logical. When you are an illegal immigrant, illegal alien, you don't have American rights. You don't have a right to a fair trial. We pick you up, we toss you back over the wall. What are we doing here? Once again, it's another example of we're putting non-Americans first, and it's that way of thinking that like I want those people out of the country too. Like these people who like the people who like vote for sanctuary cities, like the people who aren't paid protesters, but the people who are just out there because they really believe they should protest. I want those people out the country. All those people are traitors.
Like, you can argue that some tactics are, worth examining. Some tactics are inhumane and stuff like that. I think
Explain one inhumane tactic they have done. Arresting someone for a crime is not inhumane. Explain. Now, it'd be inhumane instead of we deport them because like we actually take them back to their country. It'd be inhumane if we just kick them out and go like, "Hey, you got to get back on your own." Like I could picture that being inhumane. But we actually put them on a plane and fly them back to their country. That's pretty good in my book. I don't see anything inhumane. In fact, it's very humane. And see, but she's a woman, so she's caught in her feelings, and she doesn't even know what the inhumane thing is. She's just repeating something that she's heard, and this is the problem. But at least she has enough common sense to know it's not racist to deport illegals, though. So she's like halfway there.
we can have a productive conversation around that itself, but deportation, something that pretty much every country practice, is not a racist thing. Some people could also argue that having stronger border control and deportation is sometimes used as a cover for racially motivated goals. I don't think it's an
That makes no sense. That makes no sense whatsoever. Our border is with Canada and Mexico. So most of our border interactions are going to be, well, it's going to be with people from Central America. Because once again, we don't have a problem with millions of people coming from Canada. So this point is stupid. And that's another thing. Like they think they're making a point because it sounds good, I guess. Like it's sound it's like the fake smart guy, like Destiny. he talks in a way so it sounds like he knows what he's talking about, but then if you sit and listen, you're like, you don't know what you're talking about.
Impossible. Even if some leaders in some countries use these enforcement as a way to cover for their racially motivated goals,
That makes no. What is she talking about? See, she's throwing in bullshit on top of some facts. Every country has, well, I don't know about Europe right now, but okay, most countries have a border and they enforce their border. What's race? You don't have a country if you don't have a border. So she's throwing in these feelings. Now, is she talking about Poland? Poland does not let anyone into their country. They have very strict rules about, citizenship. So if 1,000 people, whatever, 1,000 people came to their border, it doesn't matter what their race is. They have soldiers there that physically keep them out. I've seen video. There's nothing racially motivated. It's just every single person who's trying to climb over that fence, that wall, cross the border illegally. Poland stops them. If they get through, they grab them, they throw them back over. So explain to me, how is that hiding racial motivation? It's not. It's like she's trying to be on both sides almost. It makes, I don't know, like she's like halfway smart, but then I guess because she's a woman, these emotions get in there and it clouds her logic. Like you don't even have to go there because you have no proof of, see, she has no proof of what she's saying. But see, that's what a lot of like people do. They just say stuff. And we have a problem with people who don't do their own research and then they just go by from what they hear.
that's a claim about how they use the concept of deportation and this enforcement. But it's not about the concept itself. I'm just specifically talking about deportation itself and nothing else. So I think there should be two distinct questions. First, is border enforcement and deportation inherently racist?
No.
And the key word here is inherently. And the second question should be, do politicians misuse enforcement? Those are the two distinct questions I think we should.
No, these questions are questions we don't need to have. And what the hell does she mean by inherently? It's either racist or it's not racist. Her opening statement was anyone coming in illegally is an illegal alien, not only Mexicans. See, that's what I'm saying. She's like a fence sitter. A fence sitter. It's like she's trying to play like both sides of it. It makes no sense. One side of this argument is basically stupid, and so she's explaining it to a retard at the same time being a retard. It's amazing.
Ask. Just because a tool is being misused by someone, that doesn't necessarily make the tool itself illegitimate.
Okay, but give an example of someone misusing border enforcement. If you're an illegal alien, you're gonna get kicked out. So where is the misuse of that? Now you could say Biden misused it by completely shutting it down. Okay. So that's an example of the border being, or border enforcement, border patrol being misused. Biden literally shut it down. He had the border open. And if you think about it, that was racist to Americans. Having a wide open border is racist to Americans because Americans are the ones that suffer when you have an open border, at least in this country.
So that's what I think about the concept of deportation, and I think it's so dumb to say that deportation is racist.
But you went in a long winded way to say it was racist. It's like she's trying to prove 2 points at once. Like this is a very this is a person that shouldn't talk about issues or politics. She just shouldn't. But at least she's not one of these idiots who are on the complete other side where, like, we need open borders. At least she agrees that the border should be closed. Her way of thinking about it is off, but at least the end result is keep the border closed. But all her caveats are just are or wrong or pointless or redundant.
And you know what? People can call me a racist. I know that's not true, so at this point, I just think it's funny how dumb people are. I don't even get mad when people call me a racist for having this belief because of how dumb they are. So, thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment, and I will see you guys in the next one.
Well, that's her video. I just think it's trendy now to speak the truth and show some common sense. Because all these protesters, see, the good thing about the protesters as is it does make them look bad. It makes the side that wants open borders look really bad because they are, ICE and for the most part, ICE and Border Patrol. But like, this topic is only coming up because of ICE, probably. I've seen a couple of videos where ICE shows a list of people that they've detained and deported, and like a lot of these sex trafficking people they've saved. So like ICE and these people who are being sex trafficked, a lot of them are being sex trafficked by illegal aliens. So the people who are against ICE, they're basically pro crime. The people who are against us having a border or enforcing our border, they are pro crime. They are basically people who want society to crumble. So it's very safe right now to come out and go, yeah, like we need a border because it's just common sense. So, she's not doing anything special here. But anyway, her name is YU. Go check her channel out. You guys have a good one. I'll talk to you later. Peace.